Hi folks, I'm Richard Friedman and welcome to my political cartoon countdown for June 19th, 2021. Every week we get together or so and do the countdown based upon impressions on Twitter. And today I have a bunch of cartoons going down, starting with I think the top 4 or 5, working our way up to the #1 cartoon on Twitter. And before we get to that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I've written a series of books initially on the Trump presidency, and I've been doing political cartoons, since the days of probably the early part of the presidency of George W. Bush, and right through Clinton and Obama. And I just started writing books in 2016. So here, every week I'd like to just preview and give you a chance to look at some of my work, most of my books. They're available on my website. There's a link on my website, and if you want to purchase them, you can do that. If not, you can just go there, and that's Richard's, no apostrophe S, just Richard's, no spaces, Richard's Books of politicalcartoons.com, and you can see my work, most current work on Twitter at Bronx Cartoonist, handle RJF Cartoons. I'm from the Bronx originally, and I always like to give you a little story about that. I always think back once in a while, and I remember those days when you knew it was springtime, when you hear the ringing of the Bungalow Bar ice cream trucks. We used to run out in the street, see the man with a white cap, get those Bungalow Bars, chocolate sundaes. I think they were about 15, 20 cents in those days, and boy, was that good on a hot afternoon on those streets of Nelson Avenue, playing stickball, just taking a break to hearing those rings, the ding, ling, 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 and then you went out there and bought your sundae, and it was one of those were the days. 20 cents, imagine, for a chocolate sundae cup. So anyway, I want to get to the first thing I'd like to show you is my current book. And here we have just a few things here. Just give you an example. Some of the things I've done here. And I always like to go through my work and go back to the date. Today is June 19th. Come as close as I can to see where we were back in time. So this is a cartoon I did on June 14th of 2019 from this book here, my 2019 book. All right here. And this is 2019 book, and this is an interesting cartoon I did. Here's President Trump, then President Trump. There he is, thinking about, here's what he was thinking about then. Trump, in an ABC interview, says, quote, "I never suggested firing Mueller," that was the prosecutor, the investigator who did the investigation there, despite his former White House counsel John McCain's testimony that Trump said Mueller has to go. "Call me when it's done." Trump claims McGahn may have been confused because, here's the reason why McGahn may have been confused. That was a special prosecutor, Mueller, who did the initial investigation, which never came to really any significant conclusions. He just drew a little bit of an outline, and Barr kind of poo-pooed it, so it never got any real traction. And but Trump evidently felt a bit threatened by that, and he was talking about firing the man Mueller at the time. And here is, I would tell anybody, here's him thinking, I would tell anybody, and here's his explanation. "I would tell anybody who would listen that Mueller was conflicted because he felt Mueller was conflicted because he was perhaps prone to Democratic Party sympathies, or in line with the Democratic Party in some way, or had friends or something of that nature." And so here he is talking to his chauffeur in the White House limousine. He's saying, Mueller is conflicted. So he's talking to anybody, including his chauffeur in that big Cadillac limousine there for the president. There it is. So he's just talking to anybody, you know. So there he is talking to the limousine driver. So the fact that he said it to McGahn doesn't mean nothing, because he was just thinking that he was conflicted, you know. He couldn't really address the realities of the situation. He was prejudiced, basically, conflicted in his thinking. There. As he's driving away, Mueller is conflicted. He's talking to the driver here. The driver's listening. Okay, so that's a sample of my 2019. This was January to June of 2019. I have another book that went from June to July, from June to the this was January to June, and another book that went from June to the end of December. Okay, from June to the end of December of 2019. It's another book. So 2019 had 2 editions. This was my original book, my first book that it came out, and I did the cartoons about, here, Putin. I had the Democrats. I did cartoons on the Democrat. I had a section on the Democrats as well as the Republicans. You know, here's Bernie Sanders. There was Bernie Sanders, one on Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton. Here goes Bernie Sanders' plan for defeating ISIS 2016. And here is the, how about one big kiss for Bernie, he's saying here, you know, how about just one kiss for me, Bernie, you know, so it's just a joke. Here's Hillary Clinton and things like that, you know, this is all jokes and stuff, you know. Here's Bill Clinton. This is the Hillary Clinton Bridge. Welcome all to the Hillary Clinton Bridge. You know. So I did jokes on everybody across the board, and you know, just kind of you know, making a joke and giving you a chance to think. And that's really where I'm coming from, is I like to just throw it out to you in a joke and then have you decide how you want to take it and interpret it. Okay, so getting to the cartoons of today. This one is very recent, and it just came, I just put up on Twitter a short while ago. So it's really not fair to put it into the countdown because it hasn't been fully counted. So I'm going to show it to you first. Okay, here we have Rudy Giuliani waving Italian flag at the Supreme Court. Here it goes. How it might have gone at the Supreme Court if former President Trump's White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, now under investigation in Italygate, had succeeded in convincing Acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen that Italian satellites were used to change votes from Trump to Biden. Given on December 29th, a Trump assistant emailed Rosen a legal draft for the Supreme Court that was going to the Supreme Court that asked the court to order a special election in given states. So they were going to take this to the Supreme Court and challenge it, but they needed to have Rosen on board because he was then acting Attorney General, and they did everything they could to get him on board, and Rosen wanted no part of it. So I'm saying how it would have gone if Rosen would have bought into the theory, the conspiracy theory, that there were indeed Italian satellites that changed votes from Trump to Biden. And in those states that where it happened, in those 6 or so states, those battleground states, that elections had to be redone. So they were trying to get a judgment from the Supreme Court. That was their plan with the Supreme Court to get that order. So here's how it would have gone in a kind of my way of just presenting it to you. Here's Rudy Giuliani before the Supreme Court. And here he's saying, Honorable Justices, based on sound evidence, my client Donald J. Trump calls upon this highest court to muster up all its wisdom and courage and order a special election in the battleground states in question. Okay? So then the Supreme Court answers Mr. Giuliani. And they say, Mr. Giuliani, we have read your brief and the court finds no admissible evidence that Italian satellites were used to change votes. Do you have any photos? Photos of proof of the satellites. And then in number 3, he says here, no, but here is an Italian flag that fell from the orbiting satellite. So he's saying he picked up a flag that fell from an orbiting satellite, and there it is, the Italian flag. There it is. Here it is. There's the Italian flag. Justices, here it is. And then going to number 4. Mr. Giuliani, court finds you have no legal standing. The states can bring action on their own. So basically, the court is saying here, we don't want no part of this deal. You bring in the states and let them have their day in court. So, and then Rudy Giuliani says here, that means we won. That means we won. Donald Trump will be president again by August. So he's taking it again, jumping the gun, saying because they didn't rule against him, that meant they ruled for him. But in actuality, they didn't say anything because they said, the legal standing wasn't there, which means there's no judgment on legal premises whatsoever. It's just based upon they had no standing. And so the states have the standing. But he won because they didn't rule against him. So, and that's his thinking here. So that's how it might have gone had it gone to the Supreme Court. No doubt about it, it would have been a constitutional crisis. It could have been the curtains for our democracy in many ways. No question about it. Nothing really to laugh about, but to smile and just think about it. And that's really where I'm coming from. I always say that to you. Okay? Now, this is a flashback cartoon that I did, because some cartoons I do basically are more appropriate maybe in a year or so or 6 months later than they were when I did it. And that happens a lot of times, and rather than do another cartoon, I just flash it back and present it out. So here's one that fits into that category here. Okay, a William Barr flashback, BenHur nightmare. Given Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer now says Donald Trump's former Attorney General Barr must testify, quote, that's a quote, must testify, that's what Schumer said, over the Trump administration's secret probe of House Democrats. So the fact of the matter is, they're saying here that Barr went too far along with President Trump in not stopping these investigations, and he let them go. And basically, they're questioning his integrity in terms of being a guardrail for democracy and not being in collusion with the White House. The idea here is we have separation of powers. The executive, the White House is not supposed to be in bed with the Justice Department. And this is what the allegations are here. Some are coming out now with Barr. So they want to bring him in and question him. You see, he's saying he didn't know this, he didn't know this, he didn't know nothing about that, he didn't know nothing about that. Just like I always say, like the guys talk about UFOs, we didn't know what it was. It was up there, but we didn't know what it was. Same type of thing. But they legitimately don't know what it is. Here we're saying something else. So that's what he's taking in that stand. We don't know. I don't know. So anyway, so this was the fact. So I brought this cartoon back. This here is the original cartoon. Attorney General William Barr has BenHur movie nightmare following President Trump calling for the Attorney General to indict Biden and Obama. This is what former President Trump wanted to do. He wanted to indict both Biden and former President, then candidate for President Biden, and former President Obama on charges of spying on his campaign. Wanted to indict them, saying unless Bill Barr indicts these people for crimes, the greatest political crime in the history of our country, then we're going to get little satisfaction unless I win, and we'll just have to go because I won't forget it. So that's what. So this is based upon that here. And here is Trump, and here he has Barr goes to bed that night hearing this and has a dream relating to BenHur, the BenHur movie, the saga of BenHur, the biblical saga story of BenHur, 1959 with Charlton Heston, and then there was another one, but never compared to the original, in my view. So here it is here, and here goes. What is your name, 41? This is when he's on the galley. BenHur was on the galley, and he's rowing. And he said, the consul who was commanding the ship has a little mercy and says, "What is your name, 41?" And so it looks like he in the movie he had mercy, but Trump has no mercy. That's what I'm trying to get at. There's no mercy here, but there was a little mercy there that he unlocked his locks so he could basically escape drowning, chained to the boat, and then he ended up saving his life and the whole story. You see the movie from 1959, BenHur. So anyway, so then here's, what is your name, 41? That was what he called, that was BenHur's number on the boat. What is your name, 41? And then he says, and here's Barr. This is his dream, you see, he's dreaming this, okay? My name is Judah Ben Barr. And he says, I want extra locks on this man. He's going down with this ship. So that could be appropriate for today. I want extra locks on this man. He's going down. The exact opposite that was in the movie, where he unlocked his chains to the oars. Okay. Now here is also another flashback that's probably more relevant today than it was when I did it a few weeks ago. So I brought this one back. I couldn't do any better than this, so I just brought it back as a flashback. Here's President Trump watching Weaselberg, Mr. Weaselberg, his former money man, chief financial officer of the Trump organization for many, many years, So Alan Weaselberg, flashback. Given the Trump organization's key money man could face charges in New York, tax probe this summer amid prosecutors' increased pressure on him, where they're trying to basically pressure him into talking about former President Trump. But he could stand trial on his own, and he's done. They're alleging now that he has very questionable things that he did, and they're looking into that, and so they say he could, by the summertime, he could be facing charges, which was the same, could face charges, in New York. So this is state charges of New York, state of New York. So former President Donald Trump, this was the original one. Former President, here he is, watching. This was the original. Former President Donald Trump watches his chief financial officer of the Trump organization, Alan Weaselberg, now under criminal investigation in connection with his own taxes, amid reportedly the Manhattan DA convening a grand jury to consider evidence in a criminal investigation into the former president's business dealings. Okay? So at the same time, they were looking at Trump back then. So it seems like now they're shifting more intensely on this man, Weaselberg, as a way of getting him to talk, to gather evidence. But in his own right, they're charging him. So it's all according to how Weaselberg is going to play this deal. It's up to the Weasel. So here I go. Here's President Trump. Look at this crook, because now he's saying to himself, this guy testifies against me, or does something like that. Then if he talks, he squeaks, and look at this crook. Why they say he's a crook who is under criminal investigation for his own taxes. If he flips on me, if he flips, that's the word, on me, it will be pop goes the weasel for him. Pop goes the weasel for Weaselberg, Because there ain't going to be nothing there, according to President Trump, and he's going to wind up being charged even more, because he would have to lie and perjure himself to say anything bad about President Trump. So it's going to be pop goes the weasel for him. And there's Alan Weaselberg, former President Trump, watching there. Okay. Now, again, another flashback that I just couldn't top, and it's more appropriate today probably than it was back then when I did this. More appropriate now than it was August 20th, 2020. So here it is. This is the updated cartoon, updated introduction, the updated introduction from today. A former President Trump flashback. Given Mitch McConnell has vowed to reject Senator Joe Manchin's compromise offer on voting legislation that is meant to overrule provisions of voting restrictions contained in many GOP passed state laws, but still adopts some GOP ideas. So Manchin is kind of like, he's like I always say this, I said this before in a cartoon, he's like the Neville Chamberlain. You know, when Neville Chamberlain flew to Munich to meet with the Fuhrer, you know, and he came back saying, peace in our time, you know, and then Churchill had to take over and get the United Kingdom, England, to really fight back and unite. So that's like peace in our time, Manchin. That's what he is, peace in our time, Manchin, because he should have known that there was no way that he was ever going to get through, because you have Trump here, who is the super patriarch of the Republican Party, and they're going to go against Trump for I'm going to say it, as Trump called him, and now the Munchkin, little Joe Munchkin, you know, that's what he's acting like, in my view, because he should have known that he could not have achieved this, what he was set out. It was great idealistically. It's great to think idealistically, think you can do it. The question now remains, will Joe rise up and go ahead and support the filibuster so that they can pass laws that will stop these states from taking away the rights of people to vote? Now that's a $64,000 question. So I reserve the final judgment will be on Manchin when he makes that decision, and hopefully he will do it for the country and not see he has going to have to choose between the filibuster and the democracy for the United States. You know, and the filibuster was never in the founding fathers. This was stuff that it was added on later, and basically it was added with the Jim Crow business. That's what I heard that. I haven't read that, but I believe it's true. It makes sense to think that that would occur, because there was resentment towards this, goes deep into the country, voting, and so I believe it's true that there's a connection between the filibuster and Jim Crow, but I never studied it in depth. I never learned it in school, you know. That was never taught to us back in the '60s. Maybe it's taught today, but it makes sense, and I believe it's true. And the thing is that's what they're trying to pass off now as protecting the rights of people to have confidence in our election. And the reason people don't have confidence is because President Trump and Republicans who support him have been telling their constituents all this stuff, and that's why they don't support it. It's like a thing that goes round and round and round. It's like spinning in a washing machine, it goes round and round. And so that's what it is. So anyway, that in response to former President Donald Trump's unfounded claims of a stolen presidential election. Okay, so this is what Manchin has to do now, make the decision between American democracy and the filibuster, which is more important to the country. Anyway, so here we go here, and here we have John Wayne here standing in front of a voting booth. I'm not saying anything bad about John Wayne. Now, I was growing up, I watched all his movies, you know, and I remember all the Green Berets and the Westerns and all that, and I always liked to see his movies, and I had a lot of respect for the man, but he's somebody that is recognizable, and I used him here to symbolize, not to say anything bad against John Wayne, you know. So, but Trump pledges to send sheriffs and law enforcement to polling places on election day to guard against voter fraud in November's election, in the interview on Fox News with Sean Hannity. So here he was way back talking about what they're now legislating that they're going to do. They're going to put people in the polling places who have authority, strong authority, to deal to implement what they see as right. You know, and people they could stop an election if they feel this is not right. We stop it. We negate the election. No, they don't need proof. They can just say, well, that's it. So these are laws, chaotic laws that promote chaos. You know, it's like a democracy attacking itself. You know, I don't think the founding fathers ever thought that the day would come when America would use its democracy to destroy its own freedom. You know, I think Benjamin Franklin said, "We've given you a democracy. Now all you have to do is keep it." Well, Ben Franklin should be looking down now and seeing what's going on. He'd be in tears to see what's going on now, because we are not keeping democracy if these laws go through. I mean, I don't see how you can sustain a democracy with laws like you can't give somebody a glass of water and a pizza who's standing online to vote, and you run the risk of being arrested, having a record. I don't see that as something that Ben Franklin, founding father, would look down and say, well, they're keeping my democracy. I don't think he would say that. I think that he'd say they're throwing it away down the sewer. Okay, so in any event, Trump pledges to send sheriffs and law enforcement, in addition saying we're going to have everybody there, below who everybody could conceivably include, the ghost of John Wayne. So here, I had him understand. Okay. Don't say good morning or I'll shoot you, just your voter IDs. Don't say good morning or I'll shoot you, just your voter IDs. You know? There. There's a voting booth. There it is. Okay. Now, el número uno de la semana, number one of the week. Here it is. Biden meeting Putin. Biden's meeting with Putin at the Geneva summit compared with former President Trump's meeting in Helsinki on the topic of cybersecurity. So cybersecurity's been around a long time. It's just now it's getting worse, and people are getting bolder and bolder. You know, the Russians, namely, are getting bolder and bolder under appears to be President Putin, who keeps denying it. So he's got, if he wants to deny it, I mean, there's no court in Russia that's gonna call him out about it. So that's his prerogative in that context. You know, Biden's meeting with Putin at the Geneva summit compared again with in Helsinki, amid former President Donald Trump characterizing the Biden-Putin summit as a good day for Russia. Quote, former President Trump said this is a good day for Russia. We didn't get anything, you know. We didn't get anything, you know. And so here's the example of the comparison between what went on when Trump in Helsinki and Biden in Geneva. Okay, here we have the world map. There's Russian President Putin. There's Trump. Putin is thinking back to the days of Trump, the good old days of former President Trump. And then we have here President Joe Biden now. There we have the globe in between them, symbolizing the world. American flag, Russian flag. Okay. Number one is President Biden. Then we agree that certain destructive cyber attacks like food, energy, healthcare should be off limits, and we will task experts in both our countries to clarify off limits. So Biden is saying we're going to keep this as a separate effort. We're not getting together. We're not getting any partnerships. We're each going to meet our responsibilities to monitor our people and make sure that vital things are not attacked that jeopardize life and the people itself. You know, food, energy, healthcare, things like that, along that lines. And then here we have number two. here is President Putin saying, he's thinking, he's not saying, he's thinking, at least I have good memories of President Trump, you know, good Trump, and here's the memories that he has. Here's President Trump, he's thinking about President Trump. He's saying, President Trump, then here's President Trump back in Helsinki. Then we agree, this is what took place. President Trump, at that moment in time, I think later on, he changed his mind when he took a lot of heat for that. He changed his mind. But at that moment in time, this is what he said in that moment. Then we agreed to carry out your proposal to create a joint U.S. and Russia impenetrable cybersecurity unit design. So we're going to get together with the Russians to create this impenetrable fortress of cybersecurity to ensure bad things won't happen. Sounds fantastic, you know? And there it is, thinking about that, okay? So that was number one of the week. This cartoon on Twitter was number one. President Biden, Atlas of the World, Russian President Putin, Russian flag, former President Trump, and Joe Biden and the American flag. All right, folks, I want to thank you very much for watching my political cartoon countdown for the week, and I wish you all the best. Stay well and enjoy life now. I think we can enjoy life a little bit more than we've been doing it in the last year. Get out there, and I would say to you that you don't let your guard down when you think you need a mask. Use it, carry it with you, like a spare tire in a car, you know? You never go out without a spare tire. You shouldn't go out without a mask in your back pocket somewhere, you know? So I say that to you. Here's mine right here, you know? I got it right here waiting when I walk out of here. So, folks, you have a great week, and until next time, God bless you, and God bless America.